I do have skills that make me a nightmare for people like you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're all doing well in lockdown level 3 in Auckland, level 2 everywhere else. Just a little update on the New Zealand thugs assault and willful damage that they did. I haven't heard nothing from the police in a couple of weeks, nor Lana and Lane from Newshub, who rang me up. So a couple of days ago I sent just a nice polite sort of chase up to them both, asking what's going on. This video is going to explain the passage of time in chronographical order as to what the fuck happened with Lana, which is no problem and totally understand. COVID takes over the media and they don't want to put anything else up, but unlike media that are controlled by what they show, as anyone that's watched my channel knows, everything I do goes up. All my calls are recorded. There's no delusion of privacy, and unfortunately for Lana, only one person needs to know it's been recording. But I would expect, seeing you representing Newshub while you're talking on the phone, that you would act professional, which she did. She sounded absolutely lovely, and I've got no bone to chew with Lana or Newshub or anything. This is simply an update, but it shows it shows how interesting it is when media don't mind putting up stuff whatever they record, but God, it's much like the courts. God help someone else controlling the information of what was said. I'll give you an example. With Steve Evans and getting his licence back and winning against the New Zealand police, and the judge's decision knocked quite strongly the New Zealand police, the family courts, Orangatamariki. So it was a big win for Steve. He's very chuffed. So yeah, what happened in that one is back in December when he was having a hearing, I'd gone along, a recording was made, which Steve had no idea about, so I sent an email in, or actually I sent a memorandum in to the judge in regards to the recording, because the judge was starting to think, contempt of court here, secretly recording. Now let's get this in everybody's head. The courtrooms, even if they're privately being hired out for the day by a corporation, they're still open to the public, which makes it a public place. Now, given it's a court of record, and part of their procedures is that they must keep a permanent court record, and that court record is audio. A transcript refers to audio or written text. So yeah, the transcript covers both of those things. So what tends to happen is with that one, I, without any ill intent or any sort of contempt or offence to anyone, I just posted a little clip of the recording that was made in December on YouTube. Now that got back to the judge. He heard himself on the recording, which then basically brought it to his attention that it's not just North Shore District Court that controlled the information. Needless to say, 3 or 4 months down the line, the judge came back with his decision. In fact, it might have even been longer, and yeah, found in Steve's favour. The interesting bit is that if he didn't know about a recording being made other than what they control, I would lay a bet, just like he's done in the past with other people, that Judge Harrison would have found completely against the evidence that was put before him, because he would have sided with the police, because he knew other people had copies of that interaction that he couldn't control. Well, then he had to toe the line and appear impartial and unbiased. So yeah, anyway, back to Lana. So what I did, as you can see by this first page here, yeah, on that page I basically it shows the over 120 Parliament or members of Parliament emails that I sent, along with quite a few news media organisations. And what I did is I just sent them a brief link of my Facebook post of us being assaulted, the first bit that got out there. And on page 2, just here, it'll say, here is a link to a fraction of the footage I have of myself and other members of the public while in public exercising our rights. New Zealand Bora 1990 section 14 to name one, are immediately attacked by 2 of New Zealand First thugs. Then they make false claims to police, and after being assaulted, our property broken and damaged, and threatened with breach of the peace, I suggest New Zealand First and their thugs learn the law and not threaten myself and others again. Yeah, 5 cameras we were running, and all will be posted. We'll be posting the lot. Expect a visit from New Zealand First with some questions at Walkley. So yeah, you know, in the future, New Zealand First, I'm sure you've got electoral officers out there somewhere. Guess who's going to be making a visit? Because the day after, I contacted New Zealand First through their website, through the Facebook, asking them for comment, asked them what their views were. New Zealand First, just like all of the 120 New Zealand politicians that I emailed, I got a few automatic responses from the email, but I've heard absolutely jack shit from all of them. Alright? So that goes to show how the electoral representatives respond to people. And I don't want to hear about current climate and COVID-19. Anyone can respond to a fucking email regardless of where you are or what you're doing. Anyway. So yeah, what happened is I had a conversation with Lana and Elaine from Media Hub, and here it is.
Hi. Hi Mark, this is Lana calling from TV3's News Hub. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Good. Now's the time to have a quick chat about the email that you sent through to us this morning.
Sure.
Cool, awesome. So I was just hoping, I had a quick look at some of the videos. I was just hoping if you could kind of explain the gist of what happened, because obviously you've got the footage, so I was just hoping you could kind of go into a bit more detail.
Sure.
Okay, so you've heard that. So what happens is after that, it says I sent her an email saying, "Hi Lana, re our phone conversation. Here is the document you requested, the police document, letter of acknowledgement with the OIC identified, which I sent through to her. You can see that document there as well, so that should be all good for you." Then after that, she also asked me, because she needed authority to act or permission from me to allow the police to talk to her about the matter. So she just asked me, perfect, one quick thing, in order to get comment from the police to confirm this case, I'll most likely need a privacy waiver from you, just so the police media team are aware that you have agreed to discuss your case with me. If you could send me the sentence in a separate email, that would be fab. And it says, I give New Zealand Police permission to discuss my case with Lana and Elaine from Newshub. So I did that. There's the email there that I sent. I called it authority to discuss, and I said exactly what she asked for with the reference number in there as well. So again, after that 2-3 weeks went by, lockdown number 3 hits in there, and so the other day on August the 17th, last Monday, I emailed both Lana and AMAK87, which happens to be Adrian McAllister. So here's what I sent both of them, or I sent Lana, should I say. I have not heard from yourself or the police since allowing yourself permission to discuss this matter direct with the police. Please advise me as to what is happening. I will be publishing our conversation soon on multiple platforms, and offer yourself the opportunity to comment further prior to this upcoming release. It's pretty straightforward, isn't it? Should I hear nothing further from you, Lana, within 7 days, permission to discuss this with the police from myself will be revoked, and New Zealand Police will be advised of this. And I got a response back from Lana, ironically. So it's a good way to make sure people respond to you, is to give them a failure to respond notice at the bottom of it, with something that they would not want to appreciate or something that they don't want. she needed my permission to talk to the police about the matter. Not that she got anywhere, because they haven't. But yeah, because I said if you don't respond, I'll remove the waiver, because I can rescind that waiver anytime I choose. If you don't respond, normally with courts and stuff, I'll say something, you know, that no one would want to be agreeable to, and 9 times out of 10 they will respond back to you within the time frame that you allot. So it's a great little trick to use. Anyway, and funnily enough, I got an email back from Lana that same day on August the 17th. Hi Mark, nice to hear from you. Apologies for the lack of communication. Well, communication is key, let's not forget people. And you're in media, so I would expect that. As you can probably imagine, it's been absolutely hectic since the community outbreak was detected. Not really. You know, everybody's getting a bit fed up with the panic and fearmongers out there. You know, it's no worse than someone contracting the measles in 1 or 2 places and being quarantined. The whole country doesn't need to be shut down because of it, which is ridiculous. Where did I put it here? Unfortunately, I didn't get very far with your story. Not my story, it's your story. You're making it. But you know, this is my story. Everything I do goes up on YouTube, including phone conversations with respected people in regards to the matters that I'm dealing with. So, sorry. Didn't get very far with your story, particularly as the news is very much centred on COVID at present. Okay, so COVID comes along and everything else in the world just doesn't matter anymore. You know, I would have thought coming up to an election, showing how some parties' thugs behave to people exercising their rights in a public place would be relevant, especially when it's the Deputy Prime Minister and his thugs. You know, you watch him, you watch them in Parliament, you have the old drunkard in the front, and then you have Shane Jones sitting back there behind him, just laughing back, look at him as happy as a pig in blanket. You know, it's really sickening. You know, these guys are just lapping it up and getting huge wages for doing sweet fuck all, apart from driving around and yabbering. So yeah, anyway. Sometimes we begin to investigate a story, but other things take precedence. I can understand that. I mean, I myself have got lots of stories I'd like to edit up, but it's just some days or some weeks I don't feel like editing. You've got to be in the right mood to do that sort of thing, and just so happens today I am. Even though I pulled down a flight of stairs early and bloody well bashed my head and my hip, so I'm in quite a bit of pain. So if I look a little woozy, it's probably the painkillers I'm enjoying. Yeah, and then she says, could you please clarify as to what you mean by releasing our conversation? I was not aware that our phone interview had been recorded. Well, she's an interviewer. She asked me if I had a few minutes to discuss what happened. I would have thought that she was recording the conversation, and I have no expectation of privacy, especially when I'm talking to a media person. And for my own safety and security, along with others' accountability and transparency, I always record. So that's a shame you didn't know. Unfortunately, I didn't need to tell you. It's not a two-party consent fucking area or state or whatever you call it. It's a single-party consent. Only one person that's a party to any conversation needs to know it's being recorded. If you don't know, or you don't ask, but I've made it common knowledge multiple times for many years that all my calls are recorded. You know, even the ones that are private numbers that come in without their phone numbers attached to it. Anyway, so that was from Lana on the 17th, a couple of days ago. So I haven't responded to her because she didn't put a failure to respond notice at the bottom. So yeah, this is my response to you, Lana. I mean, in the world of social media, I find the best way of getting the most accurate story out there is to record every little itty bit of it. People need to know all of the information, so therefore they can derive an informed opinion or an informed view on whatever the topic is. If they're spoon-fed just drips and drabs, or whatever's been edited up to show a certain narrative, then to me they're not getting the full picture, and they'll be walking around ignorant of most of the facts 9 times out of 10. So you might not know that you're being recorded, but I would say that when you're talking to a member of the public, to expect no privacy. The only place you can expect privacy is in your own 4 walls of your house with the curtains closed, and even then, is your microwave or your television listening to you? Because I lay a bet your phone is. I mean, many times I've sat there and had my phone, when I'm talking a conversation about, say, a cracked windscreen, and the next ad that shows up on my phone is about cracked windscreen repairs. Or I might be talking about setting up a website, then all of a sudden Duda comes up. You know, it's ridiculous. So yeah, don't think they've... In fact, while I was standing in the queue at the supermarket, the gentleman that was standing in front of me told me his brother was coming back from Rotorua on the day of the lockdown, and you all got those emergency messages coming through on your phones, and it realised that he lives in Auckland but he was in Rotorua, so it actually informed him that he had a certain amount of time to get his ass back home. And on his way back home from, I think he was down in Hamilton or somewhere around there, as he was on his way back, he took a couple of back roads to avoid the traffic. And what had happened was that emergency message detected that he had gone off of the most direct course and instructed him to turn around and go the right way. So that's active tracking of an individual who's just doing what he thinks to do, but he decides to take a wrong way or an alternative path, and even then his phone is telling him to get back onto the straight and narrow. Isn't that a bit scary? Anyway, enough of my rant. I will be showing you very, very shortly a lot more content. Yeah, I was actually a Mackenzie friend for a mate of mine yesterday, and that was real fun. You know, everybody goes to court and they're shit scared and panicking and in fear. Mate, I go to court for fun, and I find it extremely enjoyable, which is something that the servants can't quite get their head around, you know. So yeah, put on a happy face. So guys, that's all I have to say at the moment. I'll be posting up Adrian's call as well very shortly. As far as Lana, as far as you're concerned, sweetie, no harm, no foul. But I, as an independent media person, record everything and post everything and make sure that transparency and accountability is key. You know, I can never be accused of lying because everything I say is backed up with factual information. So we'll see how we go. And leave it at that. Catch you later, boys.